July the 30th, 2025, dawned quietly on Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. The air was crisp, the sky painted in soft hues of pink and gold, and the region's wild beauty seemed untouched by time. Locals began their day as usual, unaware that everything was about to change in an instant. Until 8:25 a.m., when the world fractured. Without warning, the ground convulsed violently, sending shockwaves through the peninsula and shattering the morning calm. A magnitude 8.8 earthquake erupted, its force so immense that the earth shook for over 3 relentless minutes. The tremors were felt far and wide, rattling windows and nerves alike. In Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, buildings swayed dangerously, glass shattered onto the streets, and terrified residents scrambled for safety as the earth roared beneath them. Panic swept through the city as families rushed to find loved ones. The quake's epicenter, just offshore and alarmingly shallow, unleashed its energy with devastating force. The proximity to the coast amplified the destruction, leaving little time for warning. Streets quickly filled with debris, power grids failed, and communication lines went dark. Entire neighborhoods were plunged into chaos and confusion as emergency services struggled to respond. Survivors emerged to a changed world, their cities scarred and silent except for the wail of alarms and the distant sound of collapsing structures. The devastation was overwhelming, and the sense of loss was immediate. The terror was not over. Aftershocks rattled nerves, and the threat of a tsunami loomed large. Sirens blared warnings as anxious crowds gathered, fearing what might come next. Kamchatka's Great Quake was not just a local disaster. It was a seismic event felt across the Pacific. Waves of energy rippled outward, triggering alerts in distant countries and drawing the world's attention to this remote corner of Russia. Its legacy of destruction had only just begun, leaving Kamchatka forever changed and its people facing an uncertain future in the aftermath of nature's fury. To truly grasp the scale and devastation of Kamchatka's disaster, we must look deep beneath our feet, into the restless earth below. The Kamchatka Peninsula sits atop one of the world's most volatile subduction zones, where the immense Pacific Plate relentlessly dives beneath the Eurasian Plate. Over centuries, unimaginable stress accumulates until it's suddenly released in explosive megathrust earthquakes, like the catastrophic one that struck in 2025, shaking the region to its core. Kamchatka is part of the infamous Ring of Fire, a vast horseshoe-shaped belt circling the Pacific Ocean, responsible for nearly 90% of the world's earthquakes and most volcanic eruptions, making it one of the most geologically active places on Earth. The 8.8 magnitude quake ruptured a massive fault line, violently displacing the seafloor and amplifying the destruction across coastal communities. Kamchatka's unique position ensures that such catastrophic events are inevitable, not rare, shaping both its landscape and its history. The shallow depth of the quake and the vast rupture zone set the stage for a devastating tsunami, threatening everything in its path. The main shock was preceded by days of powerful foreshocks, each one rattling nerves and hinting at the devastation that was about to unfold. Scientists and residents alike watched the seismographs anxiously as tremors grew in frequency and intensity, sending waves of unease through the community. Emergency broadcasts and news anchors issued urgent warnings, urging people to prepare for the worst as the threat of disaster loomed ever closer. When the quake finally struck, Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky's older buildings crumbled in seconds. Schools and vital infrastructure fractured, and massive landslides severed roads, isolating entire neighborhoods and making rescue efforts even more difficult. Amid the chaos, stories of resilience and courage emerged, like surgeons who continued operating as the hospital shook violently around them, determined to save lives despite the danger. The human toll was real. Casualties mounted rapidly, and hospitals overflowed with the injured. Medical staff worked tirelessly, treating wounds and comforting the frightened. Rescue teams, joined by sniffer dogs and firefighters, searched the rubble for survivors, racing against time and aftershocks to pull people from the debris. Relentless aftershocks, some nearly magnitude 7, terrorized residents and hampered rescue efforts. Each tremor brought new fears, forcing people to relive the trauma again and again. People camped outside in makeshift shelters, huddling together through cold nights, afraid to return indoors and risk further collapses. The USGS forecasted more aftershocks, keeping nerves frayed and the community on edge, as uncertainty lingered over what might come next. The quake's echoes would haunt Kamchatka for weeks, Recovery had barely begun, and the scars, both physical and emotional, would remain long after the shaking stopped. The earthquake's seafloor shift triggered a powerful tsunami, sending Pacific-wide alerts within minutes. Russia, Japan, the US, and South American nations evacuated coastal areas, bracing for impact. International agencies coordinated, sharing real-time data and refining forecasts. Millions moved to higher ground as warnings spread faster than the waves. Thanks to rapid response, the tsunami's damage was limited. Widespread catastrophe was averted. The event tested and proved the value of the Pacific Tsunami Warning System. Global scientific collaboration and swift action saved countless lives. The world watched, united against a common threat. In an earthquake, remember, drop, cover, and hold on. Preparedness saves lives. Keep emergency kits, know evacuation routes, and stay informed. Kamchatka's tragedy is a call for global solidarity and support for those affected. First responders and ordinary citizens showed extraordinary courage. Recovery will require international cooperation and resources. This disaster reminds us to respect our dynamic planet and prepare for its power. By investing in safety, education, and resilient infrastructure, we can face future quakes with readiness, not fear. Let the memory of Kamchatka 2025 inspire unity and action worldwide.